Jesus. Okay.
All right, are we getting that now? Oh yes, I have to mute that. Can you hear me now? Well, I said hello to you earlier, Christopher, when you were coming. So, can we hear me? Now we cannot hear you. I'm not getting you in here, so I have to turn. What is it? Cintiq? Is that what we put it on?
It should be.
Not my headset.
It
Not
should,
my headphones.
No,
So,
yeah, I guess it wouldn't.
no, so I think it's just a computer. All right, say something. No, we're not getting you at all. So should we make that the headset? Okay, hold on. Okay, now say something.
Something.
Okay, there we go.
Something.
All right, I think that's working. Can you hear me now? And can you hear Henry?
Check. I'm Henry. Check.
Whoa, that's hot. Look, we lost a bunch of people because they couldn't hear me. All right, well, whatever.
Oh well.
Their loss. Okay. So, let's go back to this real quick. I will repeat this for everyone. Hi, everyone. Sorry. If you have ever watched my stream, you know I have no idea what I'm doing. So, this is a crit that I crashed in the middle of last week. So we're going to just really quickly do this crit, and then I'm going to work on a model that I've been fiddle-futzing with for a little bit. It is Jeremy Bastian has the Cursed Pirate Girl, and this was a print that I bought of his. I'm assuming this is it. Yeah, there you go. This is a print I bought of his. And I liked it so much, I was like, hey, I'm going to make this into sort of a thing. Because I like the sort of knight helmet ship thing. That's pretty cool. And I thought it was, a neat image. And so this has been my version of it. And I haven't really fiddle-futzed with it much recently. And so I thought, I found it again. And since I have my big printer now, I'm going to print this in a fairly large scale to see how it works. Because this is a nightmare to print, and I want to see how well I can get it to go. Hey, Raytheon. Hi, Vlad. The poor people in the rest of the world actually get some ZBrushing, because we were getting so many crits that we couldn't do them in a week. We were getting so many crits that we couldn't do them in a week. We were getting so many crits. What is that from? What is that from?
What is what from?
There's a repeating echo, but there's a repeating.
Are you muted on Twitch? I assume you have a Twitch.
I hit it and then I must have hit it again. All right, so we are muted. Yes, we are muted. Okay, it was me. Shocking, right? I know, no one believes that. Okay, remember 29 is our number of his repetition number. Okay, so when people start making rings, this is a common thing that they do. There are people who make sort of square tunnel rings. Just going to say comfort fit reads or feels a lot better than a square ring, and this is very wide. So this will cut into the finger and become pretty uncomfortable pretty quick. So I would strongly suggest you turning this into a comfort fit before you get too much farther along in this process. Because what is this? 14? No, it's 10. Okay, it's not that horribly wide, but still. 10 millimeters is still a pretty wide ring to be having corners on. So I would definitely turn it into a comfort fit. And what I would say is there's no place for the eye to rest here, and everything is still pretty flat. So so this from a distance is going to be really, it's just going to read like chatter more than it's going to read like interweaving teeth or I'm not quite exactly sure what they, because everything's kind of furry and stuff. So I know, right? Threw me too. I was like, what is going on here? So first thing I would suggest is I'm going to smooth some of this out just so we can sort of approach it in shapes before we approach it in detail. Let's do this. A little lower. No, you're not gonna lower. Let's bring this down and lower it. No, it's not gonna. See, like, it just now it's decided that we don't get to lower our resolution. I don't know what's up with Dynamesh these days. So the one thing I would strongly suggest is when you're thinking about these shapes, right? Think about how they're going to interact with each other, and in turn, how they're going to reflect light. Because you want them to be able to feel like there's sort of a transition. And I almost always start, even if I know that it's going to be a round form, I'm going to start and try to decide where my reflective planes are. Come. Weirdo. Okay. I'm going to think about how the surfaces are interacting with each other. And I'm going to usually start with something that has hard edges. And that way, I'm going to be able to see how my forms are interacting. I'm going to define how the light is reflecting. And I just think it's a more solid start, so you have an idea of how your forms are going to interact. Because, see, just by me putting those two faces on, you now can definitely tell that there are two different shapes here and that they are intertwining. And I think we lose that in this. Hold on, let's go. No. Right, when we're looking at your part here, see how it becomes, there are definitely creases in there, but it's really kind of hard to tell what's going on. And since everything is sort of flat, you lose some of that dynamics. Just look at me by me putting, look at me, by me putting these facets on first, and then really changing the levels here. So when one of these is in front, the other one is down, it lets me really come in here and, you know, define that. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get this ridge to come up a little. Nope, that didn't switch my brush back. And we're going, oh, all right. I'm going to use orb cracks. Because you have these just cut, I'm going to do that. Maybe. I can get something to work. All right. So, you now have your forms. you kind of have highlights. And now if you want these to be round, now that I have my reflective planes and stuff, I can just come in and fill in and make them round. But you can see that really all I'm doing is softening the hard edge into those planes. Those planes are still fairly... what's going on? All right, so how's chat? Hi, Riz. All right. Yeah, no. I mean, I learn something new like all the time. I love, there's this little clone button up here in the tool menu that's been there, I guess, for like 13 years. 13 years of me doing something completely different than just pushing that button. It's kind of frustrating and annoying, but now I know it's there. All right, so what is that about? Super bizarre. It's too early for everything to be acting weird. Okay. And the thing you want to remember when you're doing this is that you need a place for your eye to rest. And everything you did had sort of the same texture, and everything was sort of flat, right? There's no transitions, there's no changes of depth or dimension. So, no, you know what? I think I have the number wrong. I just assumed it was 29. No, we're on 30. That could be the reason. No, that's not it. Okay, so, no, 29. Somewhere I changed that number and messed this up. Sorry. So you just want to make sure that you know what you're presenting, and then get some dimensionality in these things where you have something going on where it's changing space, where there's just so we're not flat. So you can see that I've made these a little bit rounder by kind of giving them a crest and then knocking off the edges. So let's go back here. See how flat you are here? And if you look at the dimensionality of your textures, they're all real similar. These are obviously deeper than these, but if you look at the size of them, right? Let's look at your visual rhythm here. You know, you've got sort of, and these are still pretty similar in thickness. And even though these are probably twice as thin, you still have the bigger groups that break up. So you can see there's like no change in your visual rhythm here. And everything might as well be flowing together, right? This flows into this, and those lines flow into that. Nothing is contrasting. Everything is in line and flowy. So that's nice for flow, but it also makes it where this is, you know, from like 1.5 feet away, it's going to be very blurry. So this is the side that I messed up the number. Sorry, we're right here and our number's right, so we'll just play with this side since I kind of muddled it up. My bad. Okay. And I'm just giving this kind of a crossover pattern right now. And then we'll do the same here. And so I'm just kind of giving this feel of a transition, feel of a transition. And then when you texture these, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the texturing, but let me turn this down a little. You know, you sort of have this going on. Right. Yeah, pretty close. Let me. Something like that going on. Now, and then you just have something like this going on, right? So I would, now if you want them to blend really well, that's fine. You know, then fine, they're blending. But I would consider feasibly maybe doing it where it has slightly different rhythm to it, just so they don't look like they're interweaving. That's one option. But let's just say you want these to look the same. Okay, so these two are the same. They're separated by a deep groove. That's going to read because it's a deep groove. But when we get out here, you had these doing this. I would definitely try to think about feasibly, you know, like going in the other direction. See, these are going this way. So I would consider, you know, doing my texturing where they're contrasting, and then that way you get at least some sort of separation between your frame and your inner weavings. So really I think that's really mostly what I would say is make sure you comfort fit this thing, because if it's a wide flat square thing, it's not going to be very comfortable. And if you're having textures that are that similar, like I said, I messed up the numbers, so the backside's a little wonky. All right, there we go. Then contemplate doing these textures in a contrasting direction, just so you don't have something that just all completely, absolutely, and utterly blends in together, because it's not going to be very visually interesting from a few feet away. And let's face it, jewelry's viewing is usually what? 3 to 5 feet. You can see that that now at least has some sort of visual striking, something that's visually striking that keeps it from just looking like a homogeneous wavy lump. All right. Oh man, really? We've already, the night just started and you're hand harassing me? Hand harassing me. I see how you guys are. I have 3 Formlabs and a, is it a Anycubit? Or no, it's a Mars. Is that a Photo? I can never remember who made it.
Elegoo?
That's the one. Yeah, Elegoo. Yeah. Yeah. And then I have a Form 2, I have a Form 3B plus, and a Form 3BL. Or is that a Form 3LB?
I think LB, yeah.
Yeah. Ja. So I think that's really what I would say about this one is work with your textures so they're going in different directions. Make these a little round so there's some dimensionality to it. Make it a comfort fit so it's not, so it doesn't hurt your fingers. Yeah. Does that seem to be make sense? Yes, a Form BLT. That's exactly what I have. All right. So this is what I think I'm going to work on tonight a little. And then obviously answer questions and stuff. I think I have a model that I took a little farther than this, but I think this, well, this one doesn't have the flounder. Maybe we'll make the flounder tonight. Here, let's see. Let's turn everyone. Is this? The flags need some work. I think the face, The helmet needs a little work. That should look like a faceplate, and it has that extra bend in it there. I think I have all these pieces separated out too, don't I? That's one. Oh, that was the original one. There we go. See how there's like a dent in it? It doesn't really look like a piece of armor, does it? Let's look at our picture. This is a character from, I know, all in clay tubes. Everything's clay tubes. That's all I got. Where's picture viewer? There it is. See, now this is one thing I don't like that the Apple phone does. See how it like mudgies it or whatever? That's annoying. It was not taken with a lot of light in it. That's the problem, and that's why it's all blobby, because it was trying to figure out low light. Obviously we can't print that thin a fraying there. I haven't looked at this picture in so long. I probably haven't played with this in 2 years. Actually, it's probably been 4 years, huh? It's been a while. Maybe 3 years.
Yeah, it's been longer than I've known you.
Yeah.
I think.
Definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Where should we start? Gosh, I was sloppy sculptor back then. Don't you love looking at things you sculpted, just like, what was I thinking about? Okay, we need you. What's the difference between you and you? Okay, that's you. Okay, so that's obviously the one I've worked on. Let's drag you up here. Okay. I think this had a little bit. Ooh, that's not clay tubes. Yeah, I went to the Seattle, the Emerald City Comic Con, or comic convention, whatever it's called, and I saw this print, and I had made a skull crab, so a crab where the patterns on the back of it were skulls. And in his book, he has all these skull crabs, and I stopped and I was like, hey, that is hysterical. And he just started chatting and stuff, and I was going to, I wanted to make him one of these, because I really like the print. And Jeremy Bastian, and he was a really nice guy. And so I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make a version of this guy because I want one, and I figured I'd send him a print of it because I think it's his aesthetic and my aesthetic are really just dead on. Like literally, there are things in his book that I made, you know, and I was just like, look at that. Right? That's cool. So that is the actual piece, and then this has been my interpretation of it. I have to figure out what I'm going to do in the back, because there's obviously not a back, but I got it mostly blocked out, I think. How the plates sort of interweave with the bones here in the front. I think I just have to like make a plate or two in the back so it intervened, then, you know, give him little butt cheeks. And here's the arm with the shell, and there's the arm with the staff. Right? I mean, he's pretty close. I think I might need to come back and just crisp up some of these edges, because this has never made it to the final phase. You know, this has purely been just trying to match the image. And then what do we have? Okay, so that rib cage should go up here. What is that? Oh, that's his vertebrae. Oh, that's what we were missing there in the back. There we go. So you can see his vertebrae there in the back. And where is his boat? Which that was the blockout. So that goes up here with parts. Let's make a new folder. Well, this was before folders was in ZBrush, because I don't have an old parts bit. And then these are those, and these are those. Okay, so those are farther along, so those go in the old parts bin. And that is, oh, this was I drew this together so I could do a quick rendering of it. So this is, let's turn this off. So that's the part where it stands right now. It's not like he's a little flat. He doesn't really have a butt, does he? He's a little on the flat side. No, hold on. I guess this one needs a vertebrae still, but see how flat he is? Little skinny legs. But sadly, the thickness of his legs and stuff are based on the image, so, you know, it's kind of making do with what we have. I just really love how his bones turn into the armor flares and stuff. These are beautiful details that he does that I really just absolutely love. Right on. So, and also while we're watching and everything, feel free to ask any questions. These are really Q&A sessions in a lot of ways, so it's much more, you know, what you guys, if you guys have any questions or need to know anything, tell them, you know, I'll stop and work with you. So don't hesitate to ask questions. Right. I mean, we could, yeah, that's true. We could just have the pelvic bones in there.
Yep, I think it's down.
Fuck. What is going on?
Oh. Alright, came back on Twitch.
Did it come back on other stuff? How come it's not back?
I think it did.
That's
yeah,
because...
wow. Okay,
that is insanely frustrating. But Wrath, what I think about doing the cutaway is in the drawing, see he has this here. Right there, it's not just floating air. So I figure we'll make it where he sort of has a pantaloon or something there, just so it's not just this big gaping thing. And Henry, I did figure it out. There is a reason to use thick skin. So the texturing tools that I like about some of Pablo's brushes that I really like are really easy to deal with because you hold on, is that really is this decimated? No. Oh, is that 20 million, not 20,000? Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, why is this so? So the thing about the thick skin is you can have the bump form, and you can come in and get your brush size pretty small, and then change the thickness to be fairly shallow. And that whole thing where I like the, being able to kind of do this and get some of that, the texture. Maybe that's a little thin. You can get a little bit of the texture and then get down in the texture, and it's really good for sort of the armor and stuff, so you can get sort of that kind of rusted away little area stuff. So I found a definitive usage for thick skin.
Ta-da!
And Paul was right. Thick skin's awesome if you remember to turn it off. Because all of a sudden you're using other brushes and you're like, what is going on and why is that doing that? Okay. So let's block in the Flounder. Let's bring this guy back on because he's low res. And then we are going to, let's make a basic Flounder shape first. Append, a star, and that is going to be polycube, and let us just have a center line there. Let's look at his Flounder. Yep, looks like a Flounder. So let's do this right here. We'll go to see-through. And no, hold on. Let's polycube. Let's just make this one cube for right now. Yep. Hold on. I need to get rid of those. Let's see through a little bit more. Go to ZBrush. No. Alright, so now we're going to go. And we're going to go move infinite XYZ. And I'm just going to start to bring that out.
That's all been like figured out for all those kinds of people. Now it's just a pay to play kind of scenario. What you're trying to get.
Alright. And we'll give you a little fan. And then we're going to give you a little fan. And we'll give, we need a line in there, but, and we'll give you a little fan. Alright. Okay. What is that? Oh. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this, stretch back out. We'll sculpt it in full round. And then that way we will have a flounder model. All right, fan right on. Okay. All right, so there's our basic flounder model. Get that. I'm just gonna do a little bit of a bulge right now. Get that. Let's throw let's throw a line down the center here. W. Bend curve. I need a couple more of these. We're going to change direction. I just want a little bow there. And then we're going to bring that down. Bring that down. That starts to give us a little bit of our fish shape. We go accept. We do it again. Flip the mask. Change that. Get our lines. We do the same thing. Oop. I want the center line definitely across. Oop. What are you doing there? Interesting. Why did it not work that time? Let's accept. Mask it off. Bend the curve. Change direction. I guess you have to mask it before you do it, or it doesn't hold or something. It was weird. Okay. Okay, so that gives us our fishiness that way. We're going to go accept. I'm just going to use taper. I'm going to taper this down. But as you'll notice, it's pinching. You want to make sure that you're only tapering in the direction you want. Right, so I'm going to drag this back out to 0, so that way it's not tapering there. And then we're going to pinch this in. And then we're going to take this and make sure that we have sort of a wideness there. Alrighty, so now you can see we're sort of getting in the flounder land. We are going to go accept. Now, now we're going to turn this off for a second. We don't want to see through. We're there. And now we're just going to divide this up. Now let's actually look at flounders. Images. Let's find a picture of flounder we like. Let's look at his picture again, see if there's any, like, so his has dots. So we're going to go here. big is that? That's a pretty good size image. Let's look at it. No, I don't actually want the regulations. I just wanted your picture. We're gonna download that image. That'll be fine. Okay. So now, take you. Obviously, we're not stretched out enough. That looks a little bit more like that flounder, doesn't it? And we'll just sculpt it realistic, and then we will take it and get it to where the forced perspective works, and it might mean shrinking it down or something, but this is also going to be the stand for the model, so you know it does necessarily need to function as such. So we're only going to do one side. I'm just thinking about that. We didn't have to go through all that doubly stuff. We could have just gone like this. So we're going to go trim front, just so we have a flat bottom for the part. Hello, sir. How was your day?
Exhausting.
Yep. All right. So we're gonna bring this back in here. Let's lower our res just so we don't get super pinchy. And now when we come here and shrink this up, I don't think it was that long. So there we go. All right. So now I've dropped back in resolution. I'm gonna come back in. How big is this? Sliders a subtool. Oh, this whole model. Yeah, this is definitely an old model. So some of the old models, when you bring them in, the scale is wonky because of, I think it was 2020, they did a big revamp on some of the base programming stuff, and some of my old models, they won't come in the center of the world anymore, and they'll be a weird scale. So it's something to think about if you're using older models. It is a amphora flounder, so an amphloundra. All right, so we're gonna go draw. We're gonna go up, down. No, we have to turn floor on. Draw. This is, nope. See, it's not even correct in the world. How crazy is that? Oh, it is. It's just my flounder isn't correct in the world. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That is good to know. Okay. And our flounder is definitely going to be bigger than that because it's got a stand on it. And we're not going to try to force the forced perspective, you know, in viewing front for the figure. We'll just give it some thickness and let it do its thing. Now we're going to come here. This is a top and bottom. Let us turn everybody else off, and we are going to go draw. Up, down. First snap is up. Import. There's an armor. I'm assuming. No. There's a picture founder. Founder. And now we're going to take you. Draw. we are going to rotate you. No. Angle. We're going to do that. And flip. There we go. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now grab move, and we're just going to get this guy close to, and move elastic on. That's why it's kind of being weird about it all. Let's turn move on so we're not getting the floppiness. Alright, so that is pretty close to our silhouette, I think. Right. Go up to high res. That gives us a little bit of leeway here. Okay. Now we can turn that off. And let's match this a little closer. I want this to be infinite Y. See you, Wrath. Alright. You'll notice when I do this, I pull past the line so I can see where the line is, and then I go back up and into it. And that lets you get really close to where your actual intersections are. You know, coming down too far. And I know there's something going on here, so we're just going to pull it back until we see where we're at. Oh. What's going on there? Oh, see, this is actually up in here, right? There it is. And our little fan. Mask lasso. There we go. And now I can move this around and try. What happened last week? No, the internet just died. It was weird. It was out for like a few days. At least 2 days. No, it just stopped. I have no clue. Welcome to the wonderful world of the internet. So back and pass, back out, out. What you doing? It's thinking. Saving. Yeah, we did the one crit that we failed to finish last week, and then we'll do crits again next week. But I wanted to work on this groover. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's not saying I'm dropping frames. It's weird that we're dumping internet or dumping stream. I am clueless. No, the other machine's a lot faster, but it still doesn't have a hard drive. They sent it. They didn't put the apartment number on it because it was a 4 sign. The post office returned it, and so they're sending out another one, a different one. They're waiting. It's just never-ending drama. At least I don't have to actually pay for it, so that's helpful. But Jesus, it's just always something. It's like a never-ending drama. All right. High res, high res. Okay, so we basically got our shape. I'm now going to come back up to draw. And right here you have project on mesh. So here's the project on mesh. And that's going to give me the important lines that I need to do the part, right? So I know that we're going to go to clay tubes. And I know that this is where my body is. So I'm just going to sculpt in the important architectural points, and then we'll go back and turn this off and actually do the shaping where I can see the shaping undiluted by the picture. All right, there we go. And then this is going to get thinner here. And then our gill line. Our fin. Our other fin. That's something. What? Maybe that's a raised point. Let's give it a little ridge there. And jaw, gill, eyeball, eyeball, mouth. going to take orb cracks and I'm just going to make that the mouth opening. Alright. So I think that looks like that. Let's turn floor off and see what we have. Okay. So that's our basic shape, right? So now we know that this fin is actually down farther because the body needs to have a slightly pillowy shape. So now I'm going to come in and define my fish thickness. And that'll scoop out. This sort of is a muscle batch that then scoops. And then we give it a little bit of the flounder shape there. Okay. All right. And let's give that ridge another ridge there, just so it's higher. All right, just checking my silhouettes. Get an eye mount, we get a little bit of shape in the mouth, gill, right. Okay, his head's a little flat, it's a flounder, ah. But I think that jaw needs to come out more. Right, so it has like, it still has a fish skull thing going down, so we want to make sure that it's there. Let me reflatten this bottom so it can is that not working? It is. What's going on here? Oh, I see. Oop. Let's mask this on. That. Boom. All right. Trim front, holding down Alt, and it draws it back up to us, so we know that we're now. Oh, thought I masked that off. Also, let's turn this focal shift on so it's sharp. Make sure that we didn't go through this back face mask. Nope, we need to turn back face masking on. Okay. And now let's try that again. Trim front. Got a bigger brush. Hold down Alt and you can see that it draws it back up. But that's a very aggressive gesture. You need to really make sure that you have back face masking on, and masking it off is helpful, and that way it doesn't distort the mesh horribly. Alright, so now let's get back here. I'm just going to use move again. Gonna pull that down a little. Pull that up a little. That looked like snake scales, wasn't that funny? That was literally just my stroking. Bizarre. Okay, so you coming down. Alright. Right. Try to get our form up there so the thicknesses are correct. Alright. Turn floor back on and let me make sure that's in the right place again. That's in the right place again. Yep. Hello, Kazakhstan. How are you doing? So the other nice thing about, and why I use clay tubes a lot, is it functions as a layer brush. There is no buildup. So I can just creep up on these layers very easily. Like, you know, that is below the gill. I want this to be level. I'm just adding thickness all the way down. And you can see how it allows us to kind of stick with a layer effect, which allows us to add stuff in fairly organically, but staying sort of mechanical in the sense of I'm adding one layer and then I'm adding another layer, and it allows me to kind of really keep track and stay on top of where I'm doing build up. Here again, whenever I do a big move like that, when I know that I've messed up my layer, oops, that's not trim front. When I know I've messed my layer up, you can see I've taken that down. I'm going to take that back up. And now we're back to here. And you can see we're starting to get our flounder shape. So let's do these fins real quick just to get the thicknesses and the directionality in. Just making sure. See? I lost that line. Now I'm going to take SK twist and I'm going to define this edge with SK twist. And that's just going to give me a slight separation. And then now let's turn floor on. Right, so now that is the edge before we go into the fins. And you can see it gives you a nice rolled edge, which is easy to start to sculpt off of. I'm going to take clay fill, come back in here and just run along this so I don't have that roll right now. Oop. And then we'll do it back again here. Alright. I'm holding down Alt with the clay fill, and that just gives me a nice clean, it allows me to come up under here and just sort of scoop that out. It's a very soft brush. Okay, so now we have that. Oh, wait, thank you. We're just working on a flounder at the moment. So now, come in. I'm gonna mask the main body out. All right. I'm gonna do that there. And there. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make that a poly group. Mask that again, flip that, make that a poly group, just so we have two poly groups. I know we had some weird poly groups going on there. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to make sure this edge makes sense so it's not wavy. That's going up around the skull, so that could get a little wavier. That's fine. Alright, what do we have down here? That's pretty good. Okay, so now come in. I'm just going to define a slope or a slant. Let's lower the resolution here so when we smooth it, it actually smooths it out a little better. I'll just come in. Alright, so we're going down to pretty much nothing, which is good. Alright. And so now we're going to come up, smooth, come up, smooth, and I want it there to be sort of a scoop. I know in Real Fish it's pretty flat, but I want there to be sort of a scoop because as things reflect off this, I want that to be a dynamic edge. I don't want it to look flat. I want it to look pretty organic. And so you can do it a couple ways. Obviously you can sit here and scoop, but unless you have really good hand control, that can get really lumpy. Often I will come in, and especially on something like this, you know, you're setting the grain of those splines. So my first stroke is going to just to set up the directionality of the splines of the fin. So I'm just laying in a visual, you know, directionality. And honestly, that's getting pretty good. Let's double check. Yeah, we're pretty on stroke. They start to tilt back here, right? Yeah, pretty good. Okay. And they're fairly straight there, right? Yeah, okay. So we're pretty good, actually. Not a bad guess on the first round. And so another way to do this is to do your no back and forth, and then that way as I start stroking, see it's only going to go in one direction and it keeps it cleaner. You get more linear detail as opposed to as you're moving you get that kind of sawtooth or the A patterns. No back and forth prevents that sawtooth from happening, so it's a good way to come in, and you can see that I'm not getting any of that sawtoothing. It's just nice linear texturing. So whenever I want something to be straight without the sawtoothing, it's definitely no back and forth is super helpful. Yeah, that's what I was saying. All right. Get a little thickness in here. All right. Right on. Hey Andres, how's it going? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right now I'm just trying to get that edge at a fairly consistent angle. Right. Okay. Not bad. We'll do the same over here. Just gonna take this and knock it back to the edge thickness that I'm looking for. And that way, when I start to take this off, I have a guideline to where I know the depth of my scoop. No, you know, I haven't seen it. I was talking to my friend about it though, and he said he really, really liked it.